Welcome again to Cottage Talk. I am Russ Goldman. Joining me right now is Tony Gold and Suhail. In this episode, this is our post-match show of Fulham's 3-1 loss to Aston Villa. A very disappointing loss. I've done a full-time show. I've done 5 takeaways. Now we're going to really do a deep dive into this disappointing loss. And I look forward to talking to these guys. We've wanted to do a show together, so this is the debut of the rough and the smooth. Tony, I hate to say it, you're the rough, and Suhail's the smooth. And maybe I'm the rough too. But this should be a fun show. Tony, to you first, just how you doing, my friend?
I'm really good, thank you. Yeah, and great to see you both, and really looking forward to talking Fulham with you.
I think this is going to be a very fun show, even though it's about a poor loss for Fulham. Suhail, how you doing, my friend? Thank you for joining Tony and myself.
No problem. Great greetings from Toronto. It's an honor to be here. I've been wanting to do a show with Tony for a long while. A real privilege to be here.
Okay. Well, like I said, I look forward to doing it with the two of you. Let's start with you, Suhail. Just give me your opening thoughts of what you watched yesterday. Obviously, disappointing second half. You and I were messaging back and forth. Very good first half, even though they give up that goal. Just give me your overall thoughts, and then I'll go to Tony.
Just very frustrating, basically. I think full of hope first half and completely shattered second half. When that third goal went in, I just was like, I couldn't believe that what I'd seen. And I know we're going to go into detail, but it was again a case of self-inflicted wounds more than anything else. But we'll talk about that in detail anyway.
Absolutely. That's the best way to describe it. Self-inflicted wounds, Tony. I think you will agree with that. Just give me your opening thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, look, it definitely was a game of two halves. The decisions that went against us in the first half clearly, played a massive part in how the game unfolded. But what was disappointing for me is that the second half, Fulham just reverted to type, and that was the frustrating thing for me, and it's becoming a sort of a Marco Silva stamp mark, really, where we go into a game against the Villa side that haven't won in 5 games. Forget the European game. Watkin hasn't scored in like forever, and Fulham come to town and turn up, and then suddenly, all records get broken again, and it's just the same old story, and it's getting to the point where actually it's getting a little bit ridiculous now. But obviously we'll come on to the reasons why that happened and stuff like that. But very, very frustrating. Like Suhail said, very, very frustrating.
It is. And I'm glad that you guys started us off that way, because I was extremely frustrated. Like I said, I was actually feeling okay at the half, but I had a sneaking suspicion we might see what we ended up seeing because of history, as you said, Tony. I've seen this movie too many times. And I think we will go through why I think and why you guys might think we saw that second half. And I think that there's some reasons for it. But we will dive into that now by going to the Cottage Talk talking points. So let's start here. I've got several of them that I want to just really talk about. And so, I'll go to you first to get us going. Let's talk about my first talking point is Raul's injury changed the match. You got Fulham coming up out pretty strong. Actually, decent corner. He scores a goal, and then I'm noticing him not looking right, and he goes down. And Adama Traore comes on in his place. And we're going to talk about that whole sub-story to it because, again, we did not have a recognized striker on the bench. But I have to say, his injury affected the entire match after that, Suhail.
Yeah, there were a number of game changers in that first half, but that was the first one. And I think that was the most dramatic one, because after he went, we had no real sort of like number 9 center forward to aim for. And Raul, you got to remember, Villa are very vulnerable to set pieces. I mean, you may remember, I think we got the same feed, Russ, and that's what the commentators kept talking about. And Raul, no coincidence he scored from that corner. No coincidence at all. He would have been a real problem at corners, at free kicks, and his movement was, it really would have caused Villa loads of problems. So that was the first real game changer. And I think you're right. It was the thing that really changed the match and the way we play. And we'll get on to, the substitution, putting Adama on, which I thought was a crazy idea when it happened, but it changed the way we played. And really, we couldn't get the way we were going. Although everyone's got to remember, for the next 20 minutes, we had about 4 clear-cut chances where we could have scored. So, it's 6 of one, half does the other. But I'm totally agreement that Raul's coming off the pitch really hurt us.
I really think it did. And over to you, Tony. I want to get your thoughts on this because Suhail actually brings up a good point. For the next 20, 25 minutes, Fulham created these clear-cut chances. I think over the course of the match, it really started to show itself. Not having a recognized striker. I thought for the most part, you have a player here, Adama, who's doing his best, but that's just not his position. It's a winger playing a striker position. And it just simply did not come off. And I think it just took a little time for it really to have its effect. But I want to get your overall thoughts about how this injury, I think, changed the match. First real changing point in this match.
Yeah, look, I mean, obviously, I can only reiterate what Suhail's just said. But what I would add is that obviously, with the goal that Raul scores is the kind of thing you're looking at throughout the game because that's what he gives you. He's great in the air. Any balls that come into the box, he's going to be a threat. So obviously, with him going off when he did, we lost that impetus in those areas. Like you said, set pieces. We haven't really got anyone else that can attack the ball like he can, and he took his goal brilliantly. However, to not have a backup striker on the bench was I think Chris just said it in the thing is criminal. It's absolutely insanity. We've signed this so-called superstar from Bayern Munich on loan, and he's on the bench Tuesday night against Cambridge. Why was he not on the bench yesterday? What was the reason for not having him on the bench? So that's the first thing you've got to query and look at. Then the second thing is, even though Raul went off, yes, the whole shape changes. And obviously the way that we play is very different going forward because Traore is a completely different kind of player, right? He relies on raw pace, looking to always get in behind. So suddenly, there's no hold-up play at all. And obviously that contributed to one of Villa's goals, incidentally. But even putting all of that aside, we had 2 massive decisions go against us. Massive decisions, right? Yes. And, I'm not saying if we got those penalties, we would have scored them. But ultimately, let's say we did get those penalties and let's say we do score them. The game's over. 3-0. Villa are finished, done. The game is over. So I think that ultimately we just had a lot of bad luck yesterday, a lot of bad luck that went against, and that doesn't excuse our performance second half, by the way. But I'm just saying in that particular first 45 minutes, a hell of a lot went against us.
Can I just say one thing, Ross, on the striker?
Sure.
Because Tony's mentioned this, that Jonah, I think it's Kusiasari.
Sorry, yeah.
Didn't play. But he was on the bench at Cambridge. But you do realise, Tony, he didn't even play against Cambridge.
No.
He didn't bring him on. He brought Muniz on. Now, surely you'd think, hey, if you want to get this guy up and running, put him on against a League Two side.
100%.
Why wouldn't you do that? And it was shocking to me. And then when you see the subs bench on this one, it was, I just thought, holy cow, where is he? Where is he? Because now, not just for an injury problem, because Raul never plays a full 90 minutes. He always comes off after about, with 15, 20 minutes to go and Rodrigo comes on. That's what I was querying. And so I know we're going to get to this, we talk about who won the coaching battle, but I think Silva put us, we were a leg down to start with in terms of lineups.
Totally agree. And like I said, we will definitely get to the coaching battle because I think that's a factor in this. I want to say defensive errors and the coaching battle, which I feel was lost by Silva, was the reason why Fulham lost, but we will talk about that. But I want to talk about a good talking point, guys. And I think this one is significant. Tony, I'll go to you first with this one because you and I have talked endlessly about Pereira. I'm going to use Pereira as the example everything we wanted Pereira to do, Josh King is doing, and then some. So that's what's making this so much fun to watch and to project forward. Not even scratch the surface with his ability. We saw it here. He was, in my opinion, the most dynamic player in the first half was Josh King, and he continues to shine. And I think away from Craven Cottage, it's even better when we're playing on the counter a little bit because you can really see what he can offer, Tony. I want to get your thoughts on Josh King's performance. We're going to talk about the two controversial moments coming up separately. I just want to talk about the performance.
No, absolutely. Look, for the first 45 minutes, he was unplayable. I mean, he caused Villa so many problems on the front foot. And the thing with him, Russ, is that he's fearless. He plays the game with no fear whatsoever. He's brave. He gets on the ball, and he just plays with freedom. And ultimately, that's why I'm always for, young players with ability to be given an opportunity. Every other club does it. Fulham take their time, bide their time. And I'm just so pleased now that he's getting his opportunity to shine and show, the player that he is and the player that he definitely, will be without any shadow of doubt. And he will be an England international in the next 2 years, in my opinion, as long as he stays fit and healthy. He was doing things yesterday off the cuff, and you just don't see it. He's just a natural. And as I said, to play the game with no fear, the way that he plays is a breath of fresh air for everyone watching. It's a joy to watch.
I totally agree. Before I go to Suhail, I want to go back to, because I want to add something else to his performance that I think needs to be noted. His defensive duties. He is all over the place. He is coming back. He is trying to make tackles. It's not just going forward. It's basically being a 90-minute player, as I would call him, basically a two-way player.
It's his work ethic, Russ. And that's why Emil Smith-Rowe can't get back in the side, because Emil Smith-Rowe doesn't give you that defensive work like Josh King does. He's got bundles of energy. He's working hard, as I said, in possession, out of possession. And that's why you're getting what you're getting. And that's why players like Smith-Rowe can't get into the side at the moment. It's as simple as that.
Okay. So, Hal, you and I already talked about this off air. I want to get your thoughts on the overall performance, but also I think what you and I were talking about, the defensive part of the game he's doing.
Yeah, no, he tracks back. He nicks the ball off players with lightning speed. All I can say is to all the Fulham viewers out there is just enjoy this guy whilst you can, because I'm not sure we're going to be able to keep him for more than a couple of years. And I totally agree with you, Tony. He's almost bang on, nailed on to get into the England squad in the next 2 years. He really is a superstar in the making. I've not been as excited about someone. I think Cess was the last one, and his stuff didn't turn out the way it should have done. His Josh King's will turn out that way. He's that good. And I know, Russ is probably saying I got it right, because he was always talking about Josh King and wanting to play him. You're dead on there, Russ. This guy's a superstar in the making, really is.
He is. And it's interesting because we're going to talk about him being taken off in the second half. I got major issues with that. We'll talk about the situation that they currently have with Emil Smith-Rowe. At some point, can they both play together? I would love to see what that looks like. But right now, he has to start each and every match. I think you guys both will agree with me. He's actually the player. I actually did 5 takeaways, Tony. And I said, I wanted last season Fulham to build around, and I thought they were going to build around Smith-Rowe. Forget that plan. It's building around Josh King.
Yeah, I mean, at the moment, as you say, he's head and shoulders above, anyone in that position at the moment. And obviously Silva needs to protect him and make sure that that they're still patient with him and don't push him too hard, because you don't want him to get injured or anything silly happening. But as I said, to watch a player play with that freedom and that fearlessness is just, it's a breath of fresh air. We haven't seen it for a long time, and he's going to be a big part of everything that we're going to do moving forward, hopefully.
Okay, excellent stuff. All right, guys, let's now continue our discussion about Josh King, because it involves 2 interesting moments of the match and also matches, situations that changed the match. And here's one of them, okay? So I'm just going to put it this way. Did Josh King dive to win a penalty? Now, when I did
my full-time show, I came out very strong and said he dived, and I was completely into the fact that I believed he dived. I spoke to you, Tony. I spoke to you, Suhail, and I've had a chance to watch it back since. And I got to tell you, I got this one wrong. He didn't dive. In fact, if he was doing anything, he was going down. I think he was going down to protect himself. I don't think he was going down to try to win a penalty. I've changed my mind on that. That's where I'm going on that. Tony, I want to get your thoughts. Also have a comment. I'll share the comment in just a second.
Yeah, look, it's going to divide opinion because, as I always say, when you slow these things down, they always look, better or worse, whatever. But in full motion, when Josh King pushes that ball past Martinez, he's got nowhere to go, Russ. He can't leapfrog Martinez. What he's doing is he's bracing for impact, because honestly, if he doesn't do that, then Martinez snaps his legs in half. I'm telling you, that's how close he was to him. Yes, there is an argument to say that he was already going down in that moment, but he couldn't go anywhere else. Martinez has taken him out. Whether he's going down or not, he's still gone through him. And in my mind, that is a foul. Anywhere else on the pitch, that's a foul. So it has to be a penalty. It has to be. And I just, as I said, when you slow it down and VAR are looking at it and they see Josh King falling forward, you can understand why they've looked at it and think, okay, but he's not diving. He's just, as you said, Russ, protecting himself from getting hurt.
That's what I think now. After I watched it back, it looks like he's actually trying to protect himself because he has nowhere to go. And I'm thinking about what would I do in that situation? I would try to protect myself as I'm going down. As I'm seeing contact, I would probably be doing the same thing. So I'm now viewing it. I'm doing a whole mea culpa on this because Russ was wrong. That's from Happy Days with Fonzie. I was wrong. I now believe I was wrong. Suhail, you were one of the voices I spoke to about this, and you made a strong argument. You both did. But I wanted to see it for myself. And now I've seen it for myself, and I can admit that I got this one wrong.
Yeah, he didn't dive. I mean, he basically, they collided with each other. Where I disagree with Tony is I didn't think it was a penalty because I think he knocked the ball. I think this Liam Ritchie's put it out there as well. He did knock the ball to the right and then moved to the left. If he would have got the penalty, I think, if he'd moved the same way, if he'd moved to the right, but he didn't. And that's where I think the referee thought, oh, look at that. He's going down to the left and the ball's gone to the right. The reason I think it was a penalty was that I thought the ball had gone by the time he was going to get there. So, but it was never a dive. And the guy is not, I've seen interviews with him. He's not that type of player. He's a real mature guy. And I just don't think he would have done it. So, no dive, in my view, not a penalty. The second one, well, I've got a very different view on that. So
do I. And we're going to tackle that right now, guys. Let's now talk about it. So after this situation, it was pretty obvious that Josh King wanted to make up for that, right? So he was hell-bent to create something, and he was creating something out of skill. So he actually has a shot that I truly believe, guys, was going in the back of the net, unless, obviously you have a handball from Matty Cash. It's obvious. If Matty Cash's hand is not there, Tony, that's a goal. Martinez does not get there. Fulham deserved a penalty for a handball. Tell me I'm wrong on this, Tony.
You're not wrong. It's a penalty. And again, I think the whole handball, rule and what's handball and what isn't handball is so, mixed now, and nobody really understands or knows what it is. The bottom line is, if you're in the penalty area and the ball hits your hand, it's a penalty. And obviously there are exceptions to the rule where, someone's blasted at you from like literally 2 yards and there's nothing you can do. But you can't tell me that Matty Cash is in a natural position. His hand is behind him and it's out and it's stopped. I like you, Russ. I think it stopped a goal scoring opportunity.
Exactly.
And for me, that has to be a penalty. Again, I don't understand what they are seeing there. I really don't. And it's easy to hide behind this natural position. But I've seen 3 or 4 penalties given this season already in other games where you're looking and thinking, wow, If they've given that as handball, then surely yesterday.
What about the Sessegnon one?
Yeah, but
Yeah.
this is what I'm saying. It's so inconsistent. It's just ridiculous.
Yeah, it really is. And Suhail, I definitely want to get your thoughts on this. Like I said, you and I talked about this. This is very frustrating because I think he scores. I think he gets his second goal because I think he deserved the first one against Chelsea. So I think he actually scores his second goal here. Now the poor kid has no goals, but this is going in the back of the net, Suhail. This is, again, I don't understand this. I don't agree with this at all. And again, we're talking about just a situation that changes the match.
Yeah, Stonewall penalty. And I think when they were describing it, I think the presenters where we were, well, the feed I got, they said it was, VAR said it was.
They agree with it.
Yeah, and they said it was the unnatural position was justified because of the jump. It was some wording like that. And as I say, I mean, where do you get that from? Like, if it's away from the body, which we've always been told, if it's silhouetted, they keep their arms down by this side, then it's not a handball. This was he was like it's almost at a right angle. And I was talking to you both before we started, and I said, just imagine John Terry all those years ago when he'd have his arms out, and he'd be able to say, yeah, I'm justifying it because I'm keeping my balance. I mean, it made no sense to me whatsoever. It was a Stonewall penalty. We should have got it, and it really calls into question. I've always felt like, when VAR started, it's a good thing. It'll catch the errors. It does render things. It ruins the spontaneity. That's the con. But I always thought that's the problem. Now we have the same flaws, the sterility, the spontaneity gone, but we're not even getting the errors anymore. What's the point of having this thing that is killing the sort of the fun of the game? Anyway, Stonewall penalty, Russ. Josh King should have had a goal. It would have been lovely if it was a penalty given and King stepped up to take it. Would have been fantastic.
That would have been great. And
the bigger thing, Russ, is it was a big moment in the game. I mean,
exactly.
It really was.
It's a turning point. Again, it's a turning point in the match, and that's what's frustrating about this, Tony. We have all these turning points, and they're, in this case, several that we're talking about go against Fulham. So it's very discouraging. One thing I want to ask, I actually was thinking about this when we talked about, did Josh King dive to win a penalty? I'm going to give you another scenario that I've thought about when I watched it back. Again, just a little bonus topic here. John McGinn, when Fulham scored the goal, John McGinn basically is he's the one that goes down in the box. That to me was a dive. I don't know if you guys remember this, but that was one of the calls that was being looked at. Well, I think it was Berger? Was it Berger?
Sander Berger. He and Berger were tussling, and then Berger just threw him to the ground. So
right. But again, I think that, in my opinion, I think John McGinn went down very easily, and I'll just say that. It works both ways. It works both ways. And I don't think, like I said, going back to Josh King, that he's someone that is doing this on purpose. I think he was just trying to protect himself. All right, guys, you ready to really kind of slay Fulham a little bit? Because I think we're going to in the next couple of talking points. And Suhail, I'm going to give you the honors. You ready? I know you're a glass half full supporter, but it's going to be difficult with these 3 goals.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, I think all 3 were preventable, but I talked about the game changes. We talked about 2 of them, Raul going off, then the penalty not being given. 2-0, Tony, that would have been enough because the Villa Park was like a graveyard at that point. You could hear a pin drop in that ground. 2-0, you'd have seen people leaving. We didn't get it. And then, of course, Anderson, who I'm a big fan of, he basically screws up, and all of a sudden, the ball, he mistimes that jump, ball goes over him. I don't blame Bassey because I think Bassey thought, oh, Anderson's got this. That's why he sort of stayed off Watkins a little bit. And when Watkins gets there, you can't argue with the class of the goal. He chips Leno perfectly, and we're down, basically. We're back to 1-1, and it really, really ticked me off that sort of goal happened. So that was the first one. The second one, do you want me to talk about what I thought about the second one?
Sure, go ahead.
The second one, and we'll talk about this a bit later, because I don't think Traore should have come on. I think, controversially, I think it should have been ESR that came on and played
Okay.
up the striker role. But leave that aside. Adama is not a number. He's not a central striker. He's a winger. And he gets that ball. And he's done this before. He did it against West Ham last year, where he picks up a ball.
I remember this.
Yeah, and then just dribbles it into the middle of the field where there's no one there. I don't even know what he's doing. Of course, the ball gets taken off him because he just runs into a crowd of Villa players. And at that point onwards, it goes upfield, and McGinn can't argue with it. Cracking goal, but should never have been there. We should never have been there. And it was so disheartening for that to happen.
Yeah.
Those were my take on the first two goals. The third goal, well, that was just a complete sloppy defense. I mean, it was Sessegnon that played Watkins onside, would you believe? Because when they did the camera down the line, I thought, maybe Watkins has screwed up here. And then you see down the line at the far post, it's Sessegnon who's played him on. So I think we were in shell shock from the McGinn goal, and we just gave up the third goal. And that was it. Good night, Vienna.
That was it. After that third one went in, Tony, it was sayonara, right? So we've talked about this incessantly. We talked about this in our preview show, and it comes to fruition. They give up 3 preventable goals, Tony. I want to get your views of this.
Yeah, I'm a little bit gutted because obviously I've been high praising Anderson all this season based on the amount of jip I gave him last year. Look, I think that when we come to the coaching battle, something that we're going to have to analyse and talk about is the fact that Emery, he noticed very early on where the dangers were. And to be fair to him, the way that he utilised Rodgers and Gusand, they were crucial to the change in the way that Villa played. Suddenly they realised that long ball was going to cause problems. And what was happening was that Bassey and Anderson started to get further and further apart.
That's a good point.
Right. And listen, there's no excuses for Anderson misjudging that header. I mean, you wouldn't see a 15-year-old do that on a Sunday morning, Russ. It was really, really poor positioning, poor reading of the ball. Leno, I'm not sure why he's come so far out of his goal at that point. Where the hell are the fullbacks in all of that? The whole shape was just all wrong. And ultimately, that's because Rodgers and Gusand pushed high, which meant that Cess and Castagna had to go, and press. And they were doing that on the Villa goal kicks, but it was causing us a big problem. And really, Silva should have recognised that immediately and said, you know what? I don't need my fullback so high up. Just tuck in.
Yeah.
That way that we can keep Bassey and Anderson closer together and we'd be a lot more solid. But obviously, and you have to give Emery credit for that because he recognised that. And that's the first goal. The second goal, I mean, this is the problem, right? Traore is not that sort of player. And like Suhail rightly said, why is he being dragged into that area? And if you're going to go and drag in that, you have to look after the ball. You can't afford to lose it. And he's lost it cheaply. And then what's happened is Sasha Lukic and Berger, who are our 2 holding midfield players, are now out of the game because they're behind the ball. So they can't get in front of the ball to protect the back four. Our back four panic and start to back off. That gives McGinn the opportunity and he takes it. And it's a great strike, but we should have closed him down a lot quicker and we didn't. Yeah. And then the third goal is just a shambles. I mean, defensively, all over the place. Cess is out of position. Our 2 centre-halves are out of position. The right back's nowhere. Suddenly we've got 3 at the back, of which one is Berger, suddenly playing at centre-half. It was an absolute shambles.
What's worse about the second and third, and then I'll go back to you, Suhail, is that we've seen this so many times, Tony, at the beginning of halves. Why do they seem so ill-prepared? Why do they, and teams are coming right at them, why are they not more prepared to begin the second half? That's what bothers me.
Yeah, but we just capitulated. Unfortunately, when we suffer a disappointment, we allow it to affect us. And rather than brush it off and think, okay, we've made a mistake. Now let's just, sit in for 10 minutes. Let's get our shape back. Let's try and get back in the game and let's try and, get back on the front foot. But what happens is it's like putting a pin in a balloon. We suffer one disappointment and our heads go. And everyone loses their discipline. That's what it looked to me yesterday, is that the players just lost their discipline. Yeah. And as soon as Villa went 2-1 up, Russ, Marco Silva should have made changes. He should have changed that. Yeah, okay, fair enough. But
Yeah.
you know, we'll come on to that. But
Yeah,
at that
definitely.
point, and what you have to give Emre another credit for is at half time, Harvey Elliott wasn't doing
nothing,
what he
right.
wanted. So he dragged him off. He brought in Buendia, and
Scores a
Buendia
goal.
changed the game for them.
Yeah.
Changed the game for them.
Yeah, scored the third.
Scored
Yeah.
the third goal. So again, he had an impact for the second half. So, and we'll talk about the coaching battle in just a second. So, Hal, do you have a comment on this again?
Yeah, just the first goal, because I disagree with Tony to an extent on the first goal, because prior to that first goal, they were trying long balls. They were trying it, and they were getting nowhere because all that was happening is our central defense was just mopping them up. And that's why I think the fullbacks went forward. So when Digne put that long ball forward, when I was watching, I was thinking, I've got another long ball. That's, Anderson's got this one. And he screwed it. That's where the problem occurred, because Anderson's era. I think again, the long ball was having no real effect until that long ball. And it's a shame that Anderson picked that moment to prove you right, Tony. So
I'd rather be proved wrong.
I know. I'm sure you were like thinking, what the hell? I wish I'd lost that bet.
Oh boy. Okay. So before we go on any further, I have to share this comment from someone who is watching. What have I missed? What's this? I've been relegated. Another Akhtar steals the limelight. Well, just so you know, Kamal, this is because you are too much on the fence when it comes to man of the match. So I had to replace you. Yeah. I'm kidding, Kamal. But your brother's doing a great job. I will say that your brother's doing a great job.
And all right. Kamal, I will have a man of the match, not the whole team, the way he does every
week. I got to tell you, Suhail, it drives me nuts. I try every which way to get it out of him, and he just won't go there. He won't do it. He won't do it. Anyways, all right. Final talking point, I think, is probably the biggest talking point. Well, to go along with the defensive errors too. We have to talk about Marco Silva. He plays a major role in this loss, in my opinion. Suhail, I'll go to you first. I mean, we can attack this in many ways. We could talk about not having a recognized striker on the bench. We could talk about the late substitutions, as Tony mentioned.
Yeah.
Right after the third goal goes in, I could mention not bringing on ESR, but taking off Josh King. There's a lot that we could talk about. He got outcoached by Unai Emery, and I think it's a major factor in why Fulham lost here, along with the other things we've talked about. So let's talk about this.
Yeah, he won't change his ways. That's the problem with Marco Silva. I think, well, look at, as you say, Tony, you've mentioned it already. Buendia comes on at halftime. Who scores the third goal? I mean, that sort of sums up the coaching battle. I think with Marco, my first comment about Marco, I mean, we already talked about the lack of a striker, but I think once Jimenez went off, I would not have put Adama on. I would have brought on ESR, because ESR, he can move. Like, Adama's strength is his speed, although for some reason you'd think his size would also be an asset, but I've never seen someone go over so easily. He gets pushed over and he's like on his face. But ESR, he, I think, would have given the movement up front, and he can score. He can finish. So that's where I'd have gone. First move. The second move is, when you're 3-1 down, why wouldn't you bring on Tom Kearney? What have you got to lose? I mean, he's the guy that can control the game. He can try and spray the passes around. Why not bring him on? Instead, he brings on Robinson for Sessegnon. I didn't quite understand that. The sort of the creative midfielder. I know he brought Kevin on, who I didn't think set the world alight yesterday.
No.
Or Chukwueze, I think, was actually not bad.
Sure,
I think you needed that. I would have brought Kearney on, because he could have brought that stability to the middle of the field and started moving the ball around a bit more. But as you say, we were really flat. After that, even after the second goal, it's like our heads dropped. You talk about, capitulation, Tony. There was one point, I don't know if you remember this, where Anderson lost the ball in the box. He lost the ball in our box. It could have been another goal. That's what I think summed everything up. I think everyone was just like, they completely psychologically were destroyed at that point, thinking we were 1-0 up and now we're 3-1 down. What do we do? And I think someone like Kearney would have been a big asset in that respect. That's my take on it.
Okay. Interesting stuff. Tony, your thoughts on what Suhail shared, and I know you have some views on the coaching battle here.
Yeah, look, I mean, there are so many things fundamentally, that you can point fingers at. I think Sales covered most of it. I think one thing we haven't spoken about, I think was really important to remember, is how much we missed Tete yesterday.
Oh yeah.
Anderson is not the same defender, I don't think, when he's not playing. I just think that Tete has that ability to cover round. He sort of reads the game very differently, very different player to Castagna. And I think we did miss him yesterday. I think that was a big miss as well. But that aside, the thing I was really struggling with is, as I said, as soon as we went 2-1 down, and I'll come on to the Traore situation in a minute, but as soon as we went 2-1 down, I couldn't understand why he decided to keep Sander Berg and Sasha Lukic on the pitch with Iwobi. I thought the three of them were totally and utterly ineffective at that point when Villa scored the second goal. We were chasing the game. We had to get back into the game. Sander Berg and Lukic offer you nothing going forward. Absolutely nothing. And you've got this array of talent sitting on the bench, like Suhail's just said. Tom Cairney, get him on the pitch. Get him on the ball. He can create things. He can make things happen. You've got Kevin, who at the moment, everyone's scratching their head thinking, what's this is this a £30 million dud that we've signed? Is he going to come good? Is he not going to come good? We don't know, because at the moment, from what we've seen, there's not a lot to see, but he needs games. He needs to be seen. He needs time to play. Emil Smith-Rowe, get him on the pitch. So those are the changes that, that he should have been, looking at and making. And then obviously once the third goes in, that's it, game over. There's no way back.
No.
I agree that Traore wasn't the right option, in my opinion. No, he's too headless. I think he's a person that you want to bring on, when you're 3-1 down and you're chasing the game and you want something to happen. But I think Suhail's absolutely spot on. I would have brought Emil Smith-Rowe on, and I would have chucked Iwobi slightly further forward because he's got that ability, and I just would have dropped in Smith-Rowe there, and I think we would have had a better shape to us. And Iwobi's hold-up players is far, far better than Traore. So all of those things, together, unfortunately, just went really badly for Silva. On top of the fact that we defended really poorly in the second half as well.
Yeah, it was a myriad of issues. That's why we're talking about it, and we'll all say this, that we want Marco Silva. We appreciate Marco Silva. I want him to be the full manager, but Tony, we have to call it out when we see it.
Yeah, 100%. And he's got it. Look, at the end of the day, we don't know what goes on behind closed doors. We have no idea. We know that this JK.
Look at all these comments about Jonah. We don't know.
Is he a player that Silva wanted? Did he even want him to sign him?
We don't know this.
Was he forced upon him? You have to start asking questions. And Silva actually hasn't come out and said anything. He hasn't talked about the fact that, what happens now when there's no Muniz Friday night and there's no Raul Friday night? What's he going to do? Is he suddenly just going to spring JK in now because he's under pressure to play him? We don't know. So you're asking a 19-year-old kid to play his first game for Fulham up front at Bournemouth and hit the ground running. It makes absolutely no sense to me. When he's had a game against Cambridge, like Suhail said, throw him in against Cambridge, League Two opposition. Let's see what he's about. Let's see what he's got. But we don't know. So it's very, very frustrating. And at the end of the day, Marco Silva has to take that one on the chin and look at himself and look at some of the decisions that he made that were absolutely baffling.
I would have this. I have Coach Tony at center forward. I would.
Me too. Yeah, definitely get on the end of the set pieces. What's his name? Silva's made some comments about Kuriasari that really gives me the indication that he didn't want him, and this was just something that the management brought in. He sort of made comments like, not the style of profile of striker I was looking for. He's light years. He sort of gave the impression he's light years away from starting. It didn't sound good to me. I've got a feeling we won't be seeing JKA for a while. Actually, he'll be the Lord Lucan of Fulham for a while. But interesting to see what happens Friday, Tony. I get the impression that Raul's injury, from what I was reading, it doesn't sound like it's
he might be available.
Injury. Yeah, he may be available. So we'll see. But,
Yeah, we're gonna have to wait and see. But what I've been reading too, Tony,
Yeah.
what's I'm just reiterating the same thing, that he might still be available, and they're gonna need him. Let's just call it like it is. If they don't have him, then yeah, they're gonna be in trouble, because it sounds like Muniz might be out for a while. I don't know how long. I think reportedly, and again, it could be after the international break. We're gonna have to wait and see. All right, one final topic. We can just do this quickly. We've kind of already talked a little bit about it, and then we'll quickly break down the match. Let's just talk about starting 11. So over to you, Sahel. What were your thoughts when you saw the starting 11? We've kind of already talked about the bench issue with not having a recognized striker. Overall, what did you make of it? Obviously, it was probably a little bit of a shock not to see Kenny Tete there, and then not to see Muniz there.
Yeah, well, I think Tete was more of the surprise, because I thought, oh God, he's not injured again, is he? Because he hasn't got a great fitness record in the last few years, and I'm hoping it's not a lengthy thing. Although the fact they said it's a knee is not going to be, that doesn't fill me with hope. But the rest of the starting 11, I had no real problems with. I was looking down the bench because I was looking for JKA. I was thinking, oh, all right, he's obviously not there, and that's what the problems I had. But initially, I was optimistic about this game when we went into it, bearing in mind the way Villa had been playing at the start of the season. Starting 11 wasn't so bad for me, but it got worse as it went along, obviously.
Okay. Tony, I want to get your thoughts to Suhail's credit, because I was going to mention this too. When I saw the starting 11 in the bench, I didn't say F him like I did the last time I spoke to you. I didn't do it this time, but I thought it was more than good enough based on the starting 11. I was shocked by the Tete situation, that they had enough to win this match. That's what's frustrating about this.
Yeah, but when we spoke about it, Rusty, we said it clearly, in the back of our mind, it was always going to be, is it going to be a Fulhamish performance going there, knowing, that we underperform at Villa Park pretty much every time we go there, knowing that the position that Villa were in, it was just too good to be true for Fulham to go there, get a result and move up to 6th in the table and 11 points. It was just too good to be true. And ultimately, look, yeah, Tete was a blow. Obviously, he picked up a knock on his knee. So, but Castagne's more than capable, and he's proved that over the season. So I think the starting 11 for me was pretty much as I thought, and we said that Raul would start ahead of Muniz anyway. We did call that, and I think in that situation, it was the right thing to do. Muniz hasn't scored. He's been struggling with form, and ultimately, it was time to change it up a little bit. And to fair play to Raul, he's taken his chance within 5 minutes. He scored. So no issues with that at all. And in fact, for 45 minutes, we were the best team on the pitch.
That's the thing.
There's no ifs, buts, or maybes about it. We were the best side on the pitch. But that equaliser has absolutely killed us. It's absolutely killed us. Because, in their mind, Fulham should have been 3 or 4-0 up at that point, right?
Yeah.
And the fact of the matter is we weren't. We had a lot of decisions go against us. And it was almost like, they just capitulated after that. And that goal just killed us.
Yeah, the other big what if would have been if Sasha Lukic had hit the shot with a bit more power.
Yeah.
That 3-2, I could see us doing something. But I think that, to me, was like the real nail in the coffin. That's when everyone thought, oh, God, it's not our day.
It's not our day. It's a good point. All right. Coming up next, we're going to end the show by talking about the match itself, and then we'll end with man of the match. Okay, Tony, I'll go to you first. Again, we pretty much have talked about the key moments. Obviously we talked about the goal from Raul, what happened to Raul after that, the play of Josh King, the terrible goal Fulham gave up. But just overall, you already said Fulham were the better side in the first half. So just give some more words to that when we talk about the first half, and then I'll go to Suhail.
Well, look, I think ultimately Silva set us up, and we controlled large parts of the game. I think in midfield was the key area, and getting Josh King on the ball, his productivity was fantastic. He caused them endless problems. And I think that's one of the reasons why Harvey Elliott got hooked at half time, because he was giving him far too much. Josh King was doing what Emery wanted Harvey Elliott to do for Villa, and he just simply wasn't able to do it. Wasn't getting on the ball in the right areas. I think defensively we didn't we didn't have any problems. We looked relatively solid. We were getting balls into the right areas, and we were causing them problems. Yep. And I just think that the culmination of the bad decisions and the bad luck just sort of piled up and started to get into the players' heads. And then gradually, unfortunately, as the game, wore on, and as I say, you have to credit Emre for the decisions that he made at halftime, for changing it, and also for recognizing that, that Cesc and Castagna were playing far too high at times, and he got Rodgers and Gussan in the game, and that changed the game for them. It really did. And as I said, it sort of started to pull Bassey and Anderson all over the place, and that, in the end, I think was our undoing.
Well, a good coach will do that, Tony. Will adjust during the match. Coaches do that, even though we have one that kind of sticks with what he does. But good coaches, they'll adjust, and he did adjust. And that's actually a good point. I don't mean to be taking a shot at Marco Silva, but this is actually a way to give credit to where credit is due to Unai Emery, because he did win the coaching battle. Over to you, Suhail. I want to get your thoughts on the first half. I just want to share this comment because I think it kind of really sums up. Fulham had so many chances in the first 20 minutes, only had one goal to show for it. That's really the bottom line of the first half.
Yeah, bang on, Chris. Fulham did have. Look, after that first half, we were the better side. No two ways about it. I didn't think Villa were going to score. I mean, after that, do you remember that John McGinn miss where Bassey passed the ball? And when McGinn, I thought, this is our day. They're not going to score because ordinarily you put that in. We were very, very good. The guy that was on everyone's lips was Josh King. He was taking them apart. There was one point where I think it was the goal, the chance where he ran through and then shot, unfortunately, straight to the goalkeeper. But if you remember, he receives the ball on the wing and he just dropped his shoulder and went zooming past. I don't know if it was Guessong. I can't remember who it was. He just went zooming past them. And I thought, holy shit, we're going to win this handily. Little did I know what was coming. First half, we were brilliant. And then the goal happens and you can sense the crowd changing, and that's when I thought, okay, boys, you need to really step up and steal. Bit of concentration, steal it up, and then we all know what happened when the second half started.
Right, and that's going to lead us to talk about the second half. I'm glad that Suhail brought us there, because that's what you needed to start the second half.
Whoops.
You guys hear me?
Yeah, you froze for a second. So.
Okay. Well, a frozen Goldman, I guess, is better than no Goldman, I think. Okay. So, Tony, going back to what Suhail just said. So, they came out really flat, give up the 2 goals, and we did have like an opportunity to get back in, but too little, too late, bad substitutions. How do you sum up the second half?
Yeah, I think the equaliser obviously was a killer, but I think that the second goal that came so quickly after, really was the final nail in the coffin for us as far as that's concerned. And I think really at that point, that's when Marco Silva should have reacted and actually made significant changes to what was, as I said, continuing to carry on playing 2 defensive holding midfield players made absolutely no sense to me. You're 2-1 down at Villa Park now, 35 minutes to go. You need to get an equaliser, get the players on the pitch that can affect the game and make that happen. We're losing the game anyway, so effectively you've got nothing to lose. But to not change it and to keep those 2 on, and as I said, Iwobi and Wilson, they'd run their race. They had nothing to offer. They weren't doing anything particularly great, and you've got 2 other players, Chukwueze, who came on, and Kevin. Get them on earlier. Just get them on and give them an opportunity and see if they can, bring something different. But he didn't. He waited, and then the third goal, that was it. There was no way back really from that.
Yeah. Anything else you want to share about that, Suhail?
No, I think Chris has hit it on the head. I think Berger should have come off, Kearney should have come on, and we should have started at least trying to be creative. And Kearney might have helped Kevin, because poor old Kevin, it was very good. I don't think he beat a couple of occasions. He tried to beat his hand. They just basically got blocked by the fullback. So it was just one of those days at the end. I'm sort of glass half full, because I saw some things that I liked. Josh King, I thought was great. I thought Chukwueze looks very promising.
I think he does too. I'm glad that you said that. that. That's something positive to take out.
There are certain things that I like about what happened, and you can not forget the first half and how badly, once again VAR treated us, and that we lost our only striker. So bad second half, but I'm not going to be thinking, oh geez, we're doomed. I think this is one of those games where you just say, all right, draw a line under it. Let's move on and let's hope Marco learns from this, Tony, because I agree with you. It's getting frustrating just watching the same old movie play again. We wait until the 60th or 65th minute to make substitutions that should have been made 10, 15 minutes earlier. So anyway,
cool. The best way to wrap this up for me, this is how we'll wrap up. Then we'll go to man of the match from both of you. Tony, missed opportunity. Is that the best way to describe this?
I think missed opportunities, but also, we have suffered quite a bit of bad luck in that game, Russ. I mean, I don't want to keep harping on about it, but, if you think about the Chelsea game, the Man U game, this game, we've had some really, really tough decisions go against us. And those things make a big difference, and when you're Liverpool and Arsenal and whatever and Newcastle and all those decisions are going for you, it's great and it's wonderful. But we really have had some rough decisions go against us. And, at some point that has to change, because we can't keep on going through these games and having these moments where VAR are just, killing us in crucial moments of the game. And there were two critical moments yesterday in that game. The game could have turned out completely different had those decisions gone for us. Yeah, I genuinely believe that.
Even one of those decisions, absolutely.
So, look, I mean, it's very frustrating, and Suhail's right. There's no need to panic and sort of go, it's all doom and gloom, because it's nothing like that whatsoever. But it's all about how we bounce back against Bournemouth on Friday night.
And they're a tough side. And Suhail, the one thing that I want to say, and I'm sure you feel the same way, whenever it goes to VAR, I assume it's going against Fulham.
Yeah, you're probably right. I don't think we have been truly shafted by VAR. I mean, we've had maybe, I think, one decision go our way. Everything else, even that time when Raul scored yesterday, I thought, what the heck are you looking at VAR for? That's perfectly good goal. And even then, I thought, as soon as they went, I thought they're going to chalk this off, because of the McGinn, who's like, well, he's not the most likable guy in the world. He's the one that's like tussling with Berger, and he just gets his just desserts because Berger throws him down. They're basically going to overturn. I really had an idea they would do. So, look, VAR has not helped us, but I think when you look at that first half, there's a lot to like, and I do think that we're gonna. I think this is going to be like the Wolves game last season, because who did we lose to then? Did we lose to Villa at home? I can't remember. We lost to a team at home. We thought, maybe in Palace, and we thought, oh God, this is going to be a real tough one. And we went to Wolves and we won. I have a similar feeling this time around that we're going to do okay.
That's why he's the smooth, and Tony, you and I are the rough tonight.
Definitely smooth, Russ. Definitely smooth.
He's definitely smooth. This is the debut episode of the rough and the smooth, and it's actually been very enjoyable. And to end this very enjoyable episode, what's great about doing shows like this, I think you guys will agree once we're done, it's very therapeutic, because then you feel like you got it off your chest, and we can move on from this debacle of a loss. We can move on. So let's go to man of the match. Tony, man of the match.
Well, for Fulham, I mean, it's hard to look past Josh King, is the honest truth. He was sensational in that first half, absolutely sensational. Tough on him second half to be taken off. I can understand why Silva did it. Would I have taken him off then? Probably not. But you know what? Much more to come from him. And Fulham's shining light on the day. And for Aston Villa, had to be Unai Emery. He's definitely their man of the match.
Yeah. Chris, you are right. I was actually happy the Patriots won. Thank you. I needed that after that crazy thing. My family was like, looked at me like I looked like death warmed over, but then the Patriots won. I did perk up, but I kept thinking about this. My man of the match is Josh King. And Suhail, to you?
I've just got a text from my brother. He says that the whole team was the man of the match. So
Oh,
again,
okay,
come on,
okay.
no.
Okay. Hell, I might have to ban him. I might have to ban your brother. I can't handle this from him
He
anymore.
he likes making people feel good, so he's doing it for the whole team. But no, I can't disagree with either of you. Josh King, devastating first half. I just feel so sad for him that he didn't score, but that's coming. And again, glass half full. Come on.
Oh, Kamal. I look forward to doing another show with you, Kamal, and you will pick the entire team once again. I know. That's all right. All right, guys, listen, fantastic show. I've enjoyed the initial, and we need to do this again. The first episode of the Rough and the Smooth. So Kamal, oh my God, there's a Goldman. To hell. I got Kamal on the brain.
I don't know. Compliment or insult. Kamal's going to tell me shortly. But no, great stuff. Very therapeutic episode, I think, today. Very therapeutic. I feel so much
he's on top of me. He's way on top of me. Oh, okay. Final thoughts, Suhail.
I think that it was a bad day at the office yesterday. I think we've used up all our bad luck, and I think we'll be fine for Friday. I just hope that one of our strikers is back from injury. Otherwise, it could be a difficult night. So
okay. Over to you, Tony. I've had way too many Goldmans for one show. Give me your final thoughts.
No, listen, it's been amazing. It's been brilliant. Great to see Sahel and great to do a show with him. And no, it's been great to talk about Fulham and stuff. Obviously, look, disappointing that we didn't get the result, but like you said, there was a lot of good things on show yesterday. We can't forget that. And
that's what's bothering me, Tony.
Yeah, it's frustrating, Russ, but it's Fulham. We wouldn't be talking about it if it wasn't, because this is what Fulham are. This is what we battle with every season. But it's what we want to see is that turning point where that doesn't happen, and actually Fulham take that next step to that next level, and that's what we're hoping for and we're waiting for. And we always said that if Fulham don't sign a third striker, it's going to come back and bite us at some point. And I just hope that now is not the time that happens, because you can get dragged into this relegation dogfight very, very quickly. I think this year the Premier League is going to be very competitive, very, very competitive. And, we don't want to be in and around it. We really don't. So Friday is actually quite a big game for us.
Yeah, it is. And what's frustrating, like I said, I'm glad that you guys are talking about the good moments, because there really was so much good. That's why it is frustrating. But as Tony said, this is who Fulham are. And I don't want them to be this, Tony. But what's interesting, I was actually listening to a radio show on Sirius XM radio called Ronaldo Talks Football with Eric Ronaldo, who is a former U.S. men's national team player. And his co-host happens to be a Fulham supporter. Partially, he gives me credit for Jason Davis becoming a Fulham supporter. But Ronaldo said this, and it hit home, because he was trying to tell Jason, listen, you're a mid-table team. You don't have enough to go beyond that. This is who you are, and you have to accept it. Tony, I'm still not willing to accept it.
No, listen, we're all hopeful, aren't we? We all sit here and hope. And look, at the end of the day, Silva's got a big job on his hands now, because he's got to get a tune out of quite a few players that so far haven't quite.
Coach Tony Hattrick. Here we go. Coach Tony Hattrick.
He's obviously never seen me head a ball. But no, it's he's got a big job, because, as I said, there's certain players that haven't played a lot of football. I'll put Emil Smith-Rowe in that. Yep. Kevin, we need to start seeing, and he's got to get a tune out of these guys and quickly. So, that's what he gets paid the big bucks for us. And ultimately, as I said, I expect us to, bounce back, like Suhail says, and actually go to Bournemouth, relatively positive and hopefully, put in a performance that gets a result.
Okay. Well, Suhail actually has cheered me up, because he brought up something that I already know. After a bad result, Fulham usually rebound under Silva. It happens time and time again. It's a difficult place to go to the Vitality. That's not going to be easy, but I'm starting to feel pretty good about this match, knowing their history. I'm talking about Fulham, that they will bounce back. So, Suhail, thank you so much for cheering me up.
It's been therapy. It's been therapy.
I told you that.
Yeah.
It's very therapeutic. It's very therapeutic until your brother joined us, and then it went downhill after that. Okay. Great show, guys. I really enjoyed it. We have to do this again, but I am going to wrap this up. For Tony and Suhail, I'm Russ Goldman. Thank you as always for watching and listening to Cottage Talk, part of the Talk Sport Fan Network.